Good afternoon to you. I just wanted to say hello and let you know what we're going to be doing here in the next week or so. And let me review that a bit. Before we do that, though, I wanted to tell you, please make sure to keep up with the discussion board postings. So last week we had to do discussion board one, which is revising sentences. Each cluster had to be like 20 words or less. And so then the other part was discussion board. Part of discussion one was discussion board one was sentences with the active voice. So the active voice is really, really important to use in technical writing or, writing in general. And I'll give you a good example. Um, as I pulled up to the Beatty Crossroad intersection on Route 30 near St. Vincent College, I went to press my brake and suddenly my vehicle accelerated. So that, in fact, happened to someone that I spoke to at a picnic this summer. He said that he was very, very alarmed and he was frightened, to be quite honest. So the vehicle stopped doing that, but for a minute, it was frightening. So he was able to bring the situation under control. And he went to the dealership and he said, "Hey, can you give me another vehicle?" And they looked at it and he said, "There's nothing wrong with that." And he had them go back and look at it again, and they still wouldn't do anything. So he just traded in. He had less than 1,000 miles on it. But what I'm trying to tell you is, like I said, using the active voice, it shows who is doing what, and what happened as far as that goes. The same thing too, in an emergency situation. And I had a student that worked at the Texas Roadhouse, and one of their customers was a very large man, and he ingested a piece of steak gristle. And so the student that was in my class said, ordinarily when you do the Heimlich maneuver, you thrust on the person's sternum, and they will expel what's in there. With a baby, you have to do it like on their back. But anyhow, this person was so large that he couldn't do it around him. So the person was seated. And so what this guy did is he got behind him. So he said, "I noticed the customer gasping for breath," and he pointed to his plate. So therefore, I sat down behind him and applied the Heimlich maneuver twice, and he, whatever, expelled, I guess that would be the right verb, the steak. So that's the active voice as far as like, what he did and so on. So we did that. And then with discussion board 1A, it had to do with telecommuting. And so that whole situation was with employees working at home. There are, of course, positive benefits, and of course, there are negative situations that can occur. But I have an aunt that is a partner for a law firm, and she does that. So she does legal research and so on, but the majority of her work is done at home, writing briefs, doing research, and so on. But she also goes out to courthouses and legal libraries and everywhere. But I mean, her day is not spent at work. Her day is spent working in other locations, but it has served the law firm and her very, very well because she was an associate at one point and now she's a partner. And my sister Beth, who works for Excella, she does that. And my brother-in-law Reuben, who is Beth's husband, he also, does that. So they have the same kind of job where they work at home. With Reuben, it's just like, 8 o'clock every day he has to log in and he has to do X, Y, and Z. And then he has to make certain calls or get certain calls from hospitals. He has to pre-approve patients for admittance to the hospital, for a hernia, for gallbladder surgery, or whatever, it may be. But, behind him, he has a sign, I think it says United Healthcare, whatever his company's name is. But it looks like he's at the office because sometimes, he has to have conversations with, admissions people from, West Penn Hospital or UPMC Presbyterian or whatever to decide, how many days the person's going to get. what's going to be covered. But the good thing is they have less space. This healthcare company, health insurance company he works for, and so the company has to pay less in building rental, and then their RNs that work from home, they give them a computer, and they pay so much a month for their internet, a phone line, and they cover quite a bit. But so it benefits the company as far as reducing cost, and they can have better rates to attract more customers. But also, like I said, with my brother-in-law, he doesn't actually have to drive to the office. He works from home. So he used to work in Monroeville. So there was his back and forth tolls on the Pennsylvania Turnpike, his fuel, his maintenance of his vehicle, dress clothes, food, and all that. And so it gives him more flexibility. But like I said, you have to be logged on, and you have to be engaged with customers and so on. My sister, she has a slightly different job, but I mean, the same situation, that they kind of make sure that they're doing what's required of them. So anyhow, we did that for discussion board 1A, and then I just wanted to mention to you for this week, there is an evaluation of customer service, and I think I did send you an example, but the one by Stacy Gigliotti in assignments, I would check that one out, but that's a real good example. Discussion board 2 has to do what's called the Black Forest proposal, a company, M Global, wanting to do business in Germany, and so you have to do the first posting for that one by Wednesday, October the 7th, and then you also have to respond to another student by the 9th. And then just the last thing that you have to do is you're going to have to send me an article link for your summary assignment. And as I said before, you're going to find an article related to your field or profession, and then you're going to summarize it with a visual organizer. And if you want to know how to do a visual organizer, we're in YouTube now. Just type "creating a visual organizer" using Word 2007, and they'll give you an example, but they also show you one in PowerPoint. And then you create a summary of about 1,000 words, and then one of about 300 words. So the longer one, it doesn't have to be 1,000. It's typically they're between 500 and 1,000, and the shorter one is a third of the longer one. So that's what we do there. So initially, you just have to send me the article. Then for Friday the 16th, I'll talk about that at another point. You have to email me the actual summary assignment, and I'll send you some examples of that one. And then discussion board 3 for the 16th is on the I think it's on the, let me see, want to make sure. Yeah, it's your consumer report. So you're comparing 3 brands of a product, and then you are choosing one brand. And just a quick comment to you on that. A lot of people say, well, what difference does it make, what you get? Like, one is as good as another. But that's not the case at all, because I had a student in this class last fall, and he bought a Stihl Farm Boss chainsaw. And Stihl's a really, really good company. It's a German company, but this Farm Boss is probably their bread and butter chainsaw. But it's real powerful. It's very lightweight. And what you want to have with the chainsaw is what's called torque. So horsepower is important, but torque is like the pulling power, the cutting power. And the same thing with a truck. If you buy a diesel truck, torque is important because you're pulling out tree stumps. Farmers are hauling hay, wagons, any number of things. So anyhow, he looked at Husqvarna, which is another great chainsaw company, where they make all kind of power equipment. And then he also looked at Echo. Echo actually had a longer warranty, but he ended up going with Stihl. So you're just going, like I said, it can be a laptop, a bicycle, a new vehicle, hiking boots, whatever you want, but that's what we're doing. So I'm coming up on 10 minutes, and I don't like to go over that because I usually have problems with YouTube if I go over. But anyhow, that's it. And some people did not post to the discussion board. You have to do that because otherwise you're never going to make it through this class. Okay, thanks.